Yeah, I'm Christine Clements. I live on Charter Street in the North End. And you've all talked about development, and I wanted to get you each just say briefly how you see the relationship between the City Council and the Boston Planning and Development Agency.
Perhaps I can first start with Leah, and then the next question can start with Margaret.
We don't have a microphone, right?
No, we don't, sorry.
Everyone can hear.
Yeah.
So I think the relationship is unique. It needs to be improved, I'll say that. When it comes to the BPDA, there's appointed basically and assured a certain amount of power over how things get done, where we both have planning and we have the design and development in the same house. I think there's a certain amount of concern a lot of people have in terms of how we can actually get, or how we actually are in check on what gets planned and what gets approved. It worked in the 1960s when it was designed that way to move as fast as possible urban renewal. But I think in 2017, we need to really reassess if that model is still sustainable for what we're dealing with. So I would like for the relationship to be somewhat improved. Having worked in the city myself, I know that one of the biggest powers that the city government or city council has is to call a hearing and to demand that folks sit before them and answer questions either from the constituents or in general that they may have. So that's one thing that I think we should do more of, and actually maybe have an annual report that the city council is demanding more information and more transparency about what's being approved and what's going on. I think another way in which, I don't know if you want to call it a check, but something that I think we can also do to improve how we're working with the BPDA is immediately, I would love, as your city, if I'm so honored to be your city councilor, to have on my website all of the variances that are being sought, so that we're as a community, you're finding out immediately what's been sought and before it's been approved and before you see the scaffolding in your neighborhood. And I think that's important because I really think that we need to flip the relationship a little bit more. I would love to have the community going to the BPDA saying this is the order and this is what we love for our neighborhood. Can you go find the developers and approve those projects for those things that we want? And instead I feel like oftentimes we're responding to something that we don't feel that we were informed about completely or that we didn't necessarily want or is out of character for our neighborhood.
So currently, I believe that the relationship between the BPDA and the City Council is reversed from what it should be. The BPDA is incredibly autonomous, does not have a lot of oversight even from the mayor, and I think that should change. In particular, I think that we need to push having master plans for each community. As of this moment, we are completely at the mercy of what comes to us, and instead of being reactionary, I want us to be proactive. I've personally spoken with Brian Golden, the head of the BPDA, and asked if this process could be speeded up. Currently, they're doing 2 communities a year. At that rate, it's going to be like 20 years from now, and everything will be completely built, and the master plan will say, well, it is what it is. And that's not the purpose of a master plan. I'd actually like to see the BPDA have, I'd like it to see it be separated, actually. So we have a planning arm that is separate from the arm that actually gives the approvals. Currently, I think I think it causes issues having the 2 under the same roof. And I think that those need to be separated to ensure that we have an entirely separate planning process, one that is led by the community and is led by the needs of the community. One area in particular that Lydia and I do agree on is transparency. And I think that the BPDA needs to improve their transparency significantly, both on a community level and on a regional level. There is no excuse for not sharing information in this day and age. We have the internet. It's as easy as typing something in and watching it appear on a screen. And that needs to be something that everybody has access to, is information about what is going on in your community. And that is something that I would embrace as a city councilor, both in my office. I would encourage the city to do it, and also I would ensure that the BPA did it as well. Thank you very much.
So the question was relationship with the city council and the BPDA. Was that what the question was? Yeah. I think we need to start with transparency. I think in the age of technology, I think we need to do a better job communicating to people what is happening in our neighborhood, and that would go for the zoning board of appeals as well. I don't think we do I say we, I'm sorry. I don't think the city does a very good job notifying abutters and letting people know what's in the pipeline. So I certainly agree with Lydia and Margaret on the transparency and the things. I think sometimes we forget that when people come together in a community and we get together and we're behind on an issue, like the nursing home, for example, we are a very powerful force, and I think we take for granted how powerful we actually can be, because there are at least 2 or 3, I'm thinking off the top of my head, projects in the district that over the last couple of years that have been denied or have been deferred or whatever. They weren't approved, and they weren't approved because people put their collective minds together and they spoke up. And sometimes it takes making a lot of noise, and sometimes it takes a meeting like we had in this room regarding the nursing home to take a stand. And we filled that room up in like 36 hours, and we let the folks from the nursing home know, and as well as the BPDA, that this wasn't going to be acceptable. And lo and behold, we now have a new nursing home operator on Fulton Street. No one had to move out of the facility. And I think it was a great victory for the neighborhood. And I think it shows that if we all put our minds together and we get on the same page, which is very difficult. You're never going to get 100% buy-in on an issue all the time. But I think what we did regarding the nursing home was one of the, in my life in public service, it was one of those shining moments for me. I had a personal stake. My grandmother was living in the nursing home, and it meant a lot that I wanted it to stay. And I think we did a great job. I think that we don't take ourselves. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit sometimes. There's a project in Charlestown I reference all the time on Belmont Street. Didn't happen. People on the block, people on a small little street on Belmont Street, people stood up and said, hey, this isn't going to happen. It didn't happen. Same thing happened down here on Endicott Street. Folks weren't happy with the plans, and it didn't happen. I think sometimes it's not always about, the BPDA is going to shove this down our throat. I don't accept that. I think that we as a community can do great things when we're all on board, we're all working together, and we're all on the same page. And relationships between the city council and the BPDA, City Hall is a very difficult building. It's the way it operates is, it can be frustrating. You have the BPDA up on the 9th floor, you have the city council and the mayor. It's like they operate in three different fiefdoms. And it's, I have relationships. I know that I can make phone calls up to the BPDA, or I can call folks in the Zoning Board of Appeals and over in ISD, and I'm pretty confident that when people in these communities aren't happy with a project, I'm pretty confident as an elected official, if I'm lucky enough to be elected, that I can slow things down and I can make things not happen. And that would be my job. It would be my job to stand up for the community. And again, no one tells me what to do, how to do it. It's just, sometimes you have to speak up, and sometimes you have to speak up a little louder than most people, and that's what I'll do.